Assalamu alaikum and welcome back, sisters. You're watching Women's AM with myself, Liz, and joining us on the panel today, we have Sister Ayam, Sister Nusrat and Sister Shaman. It's now time for that part of the morning when we'll be pondering some wise words that got us all thinking. This morning's quote is, "To blame others for our misfortune is always a victory for the nafs." And this quote is from Timothy Winters, also known as Sheikh Abdul Hakim Murad. So, sisters, what did you think when you read this quote? Sister Nusrat?
Well, I think when we talk about how we blame other people sometimes for our misfortune, how it's a victory for the nafs, what comes to mind for me is the issue of accountability.
Yeah.
In that one of the diseases of the heart is to desist from actually accounting yourself. And when you kind of place that accountability to somebody else and keep blaming someone for your misfortune, you find that it creates this distance between you and Allah, and it doesn't allow you to actually look introspectively about yourself and how you can change yourself in some way to make sure that if it's a disease in character, that you can better yourself. But also the fact that Islamically we know that whether something bad happens to us or something that we perceive as being bad or something good happens, either way it's from Allah. And this should act as a source of strength for both the faithless and those with faith to kind of ponder Allah's existence and where they are at.
I think it's one of those things, it's sort of the victim mentality, isn't it, where you don't really look at yourself to see where your mistake lies in whatever's happened. So it's always so much easier to blame someone else because then you don't have to fix up, really, essentially. So, and another thing for me is when you kind of look at someone who blames others for that, it's kind of, you're not happy with what Allah has decreed for you, and that's just one part of just being ungrateful as well. Because at the end of the day, whatever good or bad happens to you, whatever you think good or bad happens to you, it's either there to teach you a lesson or it's there to push you forward towards something better. I think when you kind of lose sight of that, you've kind of lost sight of what your purpose in life is, and you kind of lost sight of what you're meant to be doing as a Muslim as well, because it's so easy to blame someone else rather than actually look at think to myself, well, what's up with me, really? Because it's so much harder to try and fix yourself than it is to blame somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely. Sister Shaman, how did you feel when you read this quote?
I think it's true. It is a victory for the nafs. I just want to mention in Surah Ashura, verse 30, that Allah states, "And whatever of misfortune befalls you, it's because of what you have earned with your own hands." So, as both of you mentioned, it's pretty much that, successful is the one who actually recognizes his own faults and his mistakes and takes ownership of that. And, you seek the solution and remedies from Allah instead of blaming each other, because what's that going to do? Is it going to solve anything?
Absolutely.
And it's actually mentioned in the Quran about the mutual blaming. The people in the hellfire will be about mutual blaming on the Day of Judgment. It will be just blaming one another constantly.
Yeah, absolutely. Some fantastic points raised. And, it was a really thought-provoking quote, certainly one that I'm sure I'll be thinking about for the next few hours to come, at least, inshallah. Some great reminders there from the panel about how we should view the qadar of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and our ability to cope with that says a lot about us as Muslims. Unfortunately, we have come to the end of today's show, but do join us again tomorrow when we'll be discussing how to cope with depression. Globally, more than 350 million people of all ages suffer from depression, and it affects women more than men, but it's still shrouded in stigma and misunderstanding. We'll be asking why. So make sure you join us for that 11 AM live tomorrow morning. But before we go, here is a quick reminder of this week's competition.